What's going on, guys? It is Friday, December the 4th, and this is my news radar. Well, it seems like the PlayStation 5 only just launched, and that's because the PlayStation 5 only did just launch, but you may have seen on Twitter just the other day that PlayStation 5 Pro was already trending. And look, this is probably a little soon to be talking about a PlayStation 5 Pro, but this is coming from a patent that someone managed to find from Sony themselves that seems to indicate something's happening. And look, let's be honest here. It's not as if Sony isn't working on the next iteration of the PlayStation already. Of course they are. This sort of thing never stops. They're already, by the time PlayStation 5 is ready to launch, PlayStation 5 Pro is already in development. The same is going to be true with Xbox and what Microsoft is up to. So what does this patent say? Does it seem to have any credence at all? Well, let's take a look at it. Obviously, look, I can pull up the document here itself at Free Patents Online, and it is lengthy, and we're not going to dig in that deep because Collider actually did the work of finding the most pertinent paragraph in there. Pertinent paragraph, I like the way that sounded. It says, quote, "In a multi-GPU simulation environment, frame buffer management may be implemented by multiple GPUs rendering respective frames of video or by rendering respective portions of each frame of video. One of the GPUs controls HDMI frame output by virtue of receiving frame information from the other GPU with S in brackets there, and reading out complete frames through a physically connected HDMI port." Okay, it's a lot of mumbo jumbo. Basically, what it sounds like they're experimenting with is a PlayStation 5 or a game console with dual GPUs. Now, look, if you've been into PC gaming, I point to my PC that is off camera. You can't see that, but it's over there. If you're into PC gaming, you may have heard of dual GPU PCs with SLI is what it's called. Basically, you got GPU and another GPU, and then this thing called an SLI bridge that links them together. Now you've got two GPUs. Now, it's not a big thing anymore in the PC gaming world. And I think there's two main reasons for that. First reason, the biggest one, is probably just that most games don't support or didn't really support dual GPUs in SLI all that well. And then two, GPUs they're getting so powerful that you're not going to get that much bang for your buck. It's really just not worth it. You can do it, but it's not like you're going to double your performance, but you are going to spend, if you're going to spend $400 on a new GPU and you're going to buy two of them, well, you're not going to get double the performance out of that. So it's not really worth it. However, if Sony did this in their own console and it was a part of the API, part of the coding, it was built in, you could potentially be looking at a system with quite a bit more power. Now let's take that information and let's jump over to Immortals Phoenix Rising, because apparently it is running at locked 4K on PlayStation 5 and only dynamic 4K on the Xbox Series X. They say in this article, PS5 so far has managed to hold up respectably against the Xbox Series X, even though on paper the console has a lower raw performance. This hasn't been seen in the various multi-platform games that have been released so far. Immortals Phoenix Rising is another game from Ubisoft that appears to offer a slight advantage on the PlayStation 5. So you may be wondering, if the Xbox Series X is the more powerful of the two consoles, why is it that on several games now, including now Phoenix Rising, the PlayStation 5 is outperforming the Xbox Series X? I think that this is something that, looking back at history, is going to be important, because when you look back at the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era, you get a much more extreme version of what I think is kind of going on here. So the PlayStation 3 used Sony's very patented, very different cell processing architecture. On paper, this was a far more powerful solution than what was in the Xbox 360. In practice, making games work for it was much more difficult. You were having to coordinate oodles and oodles of cores and RAM, data being moved back and forth between them, commands being spread out to all these different cores. Very complicated to code for. Now, once you got the hang of it, you could do things like make The Last of Us, and it would look better than anything anybody else had made on a console, but it took a long time and it took someone that could really sit down and dig into this hardware. Now, I'm not saying that the Xbox Series X is as complicated as the PlayStation 3. It's actually really not complicated compared to something like the PlayStation 3. And in fact, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X share a lot in common. I think that the primary difference between the two is the way that the APIs are set up. Basically, the nuance in the way that games need to be made, and the fact that the PlayStation 5 had developer kits in the hands of developers quite a bit before the Xbox did. So we look at what's been written here. Ledbetter here, Richard, I believe is his first name, from Digital Foundry, tremendous YouTube channel, tremendous work that they do there. He says, quote, "The PS5 spec-wise is punching above its weight, and something is up with Xbox, which on paper should be significantly ahead." But we've been hearing this from developers for months now, that when they develop with PlayStation 5, they're instantly getting to grips with it. It's an evolution of what they were already used to in the PlayStation 5. That's paying off for them big time. With Xbox, they've had to move to a new system, and a lot of people aren't so happy with the change, and it takes time to adapt. There may well be inefficiencies in the software stack. Now, of course, Microsoft has their own quote here where they say, "As we begin a new console generations, our partners are just now scratching the surface of what next-gen consoles can do, and minor bug fixes are expected as they learn how to take full advantage of our new platform. We're eager to continue working with developers to further explore the capability of the new Xbox consoles," and that's, I think, about as expected as you're going to get. I think really that's what it is. PS5 is more familiar, and the dev kits were out longer. Xbox is waiting potentially for something to happen with RDNA. It's a newer way. They've changed more than the PS5 did in their jump. So you're going to be seeing this sort of thing out of the gate. So here's a news story that I saw on Twitter, and I immediately thought, I don't understand. I'm confused by this news story. I wear a smartwatch. It's just a cheap, simple Fossil Sport that I replaced the band with a proper metal band because I hate, putting the thing through and trying to get the little pokey thing through the hole. That sucks. Metal band's the way to go. I think I paid maybe like $100 for this thing on sale. It's fine. It's slow, but to check notifications, it's fine. One thing I've never considered wanting, there's a lot of things I would love to have on a smartwatch. Better performance, better battery life are the two primary things. Maybe a quicker access to Google Assistant. Maybe a speaker is okay as well, and not a huge deal for me. One thing I've never considered wanting on a smartwatch is a camera. But if you've got an Apple Watch and for some reason you want a camera on it, well, apparently this is a thing that's being made. This wrist cam is a camera for your Apple Watch, it says. So this thing has not just a world-facing camera, but a front-facing camera as well. So the 8-megapixel camera faces out to the world, can shoot 1080p video, still is in 4K resolution. That's a weird way to say that, but whatever. And a 2-megapixel camera for selfies. Now you've got some images here that it's taken, and look, I've got a Surface Duo, so I shouldn't really complain about image quality on something like this, but it looks like it was a picture taken on a watch. I guess the thing I can kind of consider here is that if you're using your Apple Watch with cellular and you just left your phone at home and you're out on a hike and you want to snap a quick picture, you could just do that real quick. But man, what a weird product. Am I crazy? Am I missing something here? Does this make sense to any of you guys? Would you want a camera on your wrist? Phones are pretty small. Like, just put it in your pocket and it's better. Like, how often are you going to have this out and your phone's going to be like prohibitively slower to get out and take the picture that will be 50 times better than this? And don't worry though, if you are worried about it being cheap, it's $300. Let's wrap things up with another strange news story. This one's coming from The Verge. Apparently people are paranoid that their Wi-Fi is going to, be something that they like is going to hurt them in some way, because I guess some routers are 5 gigahertz compatible now, so people are actually putting their routers in a Faraday cage that's being sold online, which would trap something in there, I guess, between $70 to $100 on Amazon. You put your router in this box, and then what? Does your Wi-Fi get out? If it does, then what's it doing? If you're afraid of the Wi-Fi, then just unplug your router, turn it off. The reviews are hilarious too. The Wi-Fi signal is not strong to reach my room when the lid is closed. Bummer. I don't understand. Are you afraid of the signal? Do you want it into your room or do you not want it into your room? I don't understand what's happening here. Guys, that's all the news I have for you today. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next news radar. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends. If you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a Scary If Literal member. You'll get access to a whole bunch of emoticons to use with live streams and a shout out on an upcoming video. Thanks as always for your continued support.